What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the second episode of the Not About Us podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, as always. Let's go, Mr. Jayden. Let's go.
Jayden, about to lock in.
Yeah, man. And today we got some heavy hitters in the industry, I'd like to say. These guys are multi-award winning. They are extremely talented. And yeah, I'm just super excited to be able to take a little bit of a deep dive into who they are as not only people, but barbers. But please give a warm NAU welcome to Mr. Mark Rabone and Matt Clarke. Let's go.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having us.
How was that intro, though? Was it pretty rubbish?
Too kind.
Nah, but as we start everything, man, we just want to thank you guys so much for taking the time, obviously out of your busy schedule, to just take the time to sit and have a yarn with us and have a chat and, being a part of the NAU journey. And we really appreciate you guys, because I know for myself and Jayden, we both have had moments in our careers where we've heavily looked up to both of you guys for what you guys do in the industry, and it's really cool to
finally sit down and
lock in and have a chat with you guys, eh?
Well, it's reciprocal as well, mate. I love seeing you on stage, like, you know what I mean? So thanks for that.
No,
mate.
we appreciate it. We appreciate it. But obviously, the way we like to start things is just, would you guys like to just let everybody who doesn't know that's your guys' camera over there? By the way, I forgot to tell you guys in the brief. Yeah, that one's your close up. But if you want to just let everybody know,
the low angle for my chins.
Yeah, who you guys?
I made sure you guys were just rocking. Bro, the glasses, man, with the lights.
These are the dark circles under my eyes from the hours that we do, right? You know?
But just let everybody know who, if you've been living under a rock, guys, and you're a part of the hair industry and you don't know who these guys are, then I don't know what you're doing. But just let everybody know who you guys are, what you guys do, what shop you're from, and how long you both have been cutting for.
Sure. Well, I'm Mark Rabone. I've been barbering. I was working out the other day. I did my apprenticeship. I started in June 1987.
Oh,
I know, right? That's a lot of maths to work out. So, but I had a couple of years out. But yeah, I've got my barbershop, Esquire Grooming. We're celebrating 20 years on Friday, actually.
Oh, congrats,
man! What a milestone!
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I had a whole full head of hair when I started. and stuff like that.
You know what? And I've seen a photo.
No bags.
I'm pretty sure I've seen a photo.
There's a couple floating around. They're a bit grainy. The quality of the film back then was. But yeah, been barbering for 35 plus years now. Love my industry, and work with American Crew. I work with Wall, and of course 4 Barbers.
Yeah.
And love what I do.
Nice.
I'm Matt Clarke. I've been cutting for about 11, 12 years now. Well, professionally anyway.
Yeah.
Started like most of us, where we were just cutting in the backyard or cutting in mum and dad's laundry.
That's usually the spawn of.
Yeah, it's the tale as old as time for our industry, I guess. And then work alongside Mark at Esquire Male Grooming, and fortunate enough to be on a few teams with 4B, Heininger Professional, and American Crew along with Mark.
Nice.
We basically live together at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
I remember vividly. I think the first time I seen both of you guys educate at the same time was the first time I seen you guys in person, and it was at Barber Temple. I can't remember. I think it was a crew night actually, and we were doing it for maybe a TG's education thing. And I remember just watching you guys, and you it's just insane. How for me as an urban style barber, watching the style in which you guys cut, it really gave me a lot of inspo and a lot of insight into your scissor work or your men's hairdressing styles, and
just realizing how much still having to learn,
how much growth I still had in the industry, But where did sort of education essentially start for you guys, and how has it sort of impacted and shaped your career so far?
Well, look, for me, I started with American Crew about 15 years ago. I wouldn't say it was something I always wanted to do to get into education, but it's something I've always been passionate about. And at the time, I was and still am very passionate about that brand sort of thing. And I was lucky enough to get on board with them. And eventually worked my way up into the international team. And mate, I've had a load of fails along the way. I have bombed on stage along the way. I've learned from that sort of thing, And some of the best advice I've ever had is just to be yourself, when you're on the stage there. It's a show. It's a presence. It's not got to be all technical. You've got to have some great fun out there for people to be engaged to when they come back. So, the structure that we had from American Crew and the always progression is fantastic. And for me personally,
resonated with you.
Yeah, and being the fact that I do own shops and I train my staff to actually go and be trained is something that you need.
Yeah,
I feel
100%.
as though it's like, great, I'm not the teacher, I'm being taught, and that's something that's what I've always enjoyed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's all about practicing what you preach, huh?
100%. And you're never happy with what you've done right. You can always do better,
always,
right? I think
yeah.
everyone knows
And,
that.
and that's where that drive comes from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always just wanting to progress. And,
Yeah.
And yeah.
100%. But what about yourself, Matt?
I guess mine happened a little bit more organically. I wasn't, got American Crew knocking at my door straight away and skyrocketed to stage. I was working abroad in the UK in a really, really great shop. We had like 5 shops there, and there was a point where we kind of had each shop had an educator, and then you'd go back and forth to the various other shops and teach. And so I started working there and started kind of doing a lot of education with them. And then when I came back, I just had it in my head that I was going to go back to college that I went to in the beginning. So where I first did my course, this was before barbering was really even a qualification. This was hairdressing, right? So you could just do short cutting courses, and I did a short cutting course. And then when I moved back to Australia, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go work at that school. And I just started there, and I worked there as a full-time educator for a couple of years. And then through that kind of, got to start doing education in my own right and under my own banner. And then, since then, after all that like kind of grind, I, been fortunate enough to, get on the stage with Mark.
Bro, and that's so crazy to hear, because I've only ever known you as like an American Crew all-star, like straight up. So like hearing that little insight, man, is like is crazy, bro. But for you guys personally, I know especially with you, Mark, and obviously Esquire, over the years, from where the industry was at when you opened up shop, how much progression have you seen, especially I feel like in Brisbane, the barber culture, how much has that shifted and changed? And obviously the hairstyles and everything are so much different to what they were back in the day. How has that sort of influenced obviously the shop, and have you changed a lot of what the values were in the core beginning of Esquire as the years have progressed, or is it still very similar to what you started with the foundation?
Look, I think it's similar in a way. When I opened up the shop, as I say, 20 years ago, most barbers, you go, with your dad for a short back and sides. If you wanted a quality haircut, we say texture or different techniques, you'd go to a hair salon, right? Your barbers was bog standard. And probably about, 12 years ago, when all the classics became popular and just a bit of a retro vibe that really come through. And, moving forward, the talent in the barber pool is incredible. And as I say, you've got urban barbershops, like you say, classic, you've got sort of, rockabilly and your commercial shops and everything in between. And it's been exciting to watch it. And as I say, I haven't changed my theory or my sort of business plan or how we go about things at all. It's an ever evolving industry. I think there's only probably a dozen odd haircuts out there, right? It's just about refining them and making them better.
And I think like it's not something that just it just automatically it doesn't just change, it evolves, you know what I mean? So that's why you've kept that. I feel like you keeping that, it just shows that like instead of the industry just like changing all the way to like another sort of style, it's grown, and you can still have those core sort of values there,
And I feel like we've spoken a lot before, even ourselves, and we sort of see like the founding fathers of like the Brisbane or the Queensland scene. We kind of look to you, Mr. Lino and Lance, just with your styles, your techniques, and everything that you guys have done, and the impact that you've had, I feel like, on so many barbers in the industry. Obviously, like you said, Esquire's been open for running on to 20 years, this Friday. Like, that's so incredible, and that impact and legacy that you guys have, and even continue to have, like, multi-award winning barbershop, multi-award winning crew team, the guys that you bring through. You have a level of I just feel like you guys have a level and a standard that is so incredible, and anybody who's a part of it just automatically gets elevated through that hard work and that drive that you guys have. And in saying that, where did it sort of start with the award stuff, the editorials? Where was that that sway where you're like, oh, like camera, take a photo of her hair. Oh, let's do like a crazy punk rock fucking style and make it look all fucking sexy on the camera. Like, where did that start for, like, you know, both of you guys? Because I know you guys have both found really amazing success in that scene, in that editorial scene.
Look, I always wanted to, you know, as I say, we're creatives, right? You know, but, you know, ultimately we do run a business and you get your day-to-day sort of, you know, your haircuts, your bread and butter. But we are creatives, and I just started, you know, it was 7 years ago or something. I'm like, right, we're going to have a day where we have a fashion shoot or a hair shoot. Everyone gets 2 models in. We get a professional photographer. And we get to create outside of the shop floor. And I think with that, you know, that gave confidence to the team. And then they go, man, you know, I'm good. Every year we want to improve. We obviously say we always sit there going, I should have done this. I should have done that. Like, you know, you look at your own work and you go, man, I can't believe I did that. But from that, it's sort of like, you know, it evolved into, you know, obviously there's so many awards out there now and photographic awards and stuff. And yeah, you know, that's the creativity that we like to create, you know, that I just feel as though you give people that sort of that outlet to keep their creative stuff. It gets their juices flowing, and you know, ultimately, you know, as creatives, the way to sort of nurture them and to have a good team is to you know, give them inspiration and find out what motivates them, and nurture that and embrace it and sort of see where it can take them because. You know, we're all barbers, right? There's only so much you can do on the floor. You know, what you put in and you know, the opportunities that are afforded to you generally don't happen on the floor. They happen from what you do outside.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And with you, Matt, obviously last year, correct me if I'm wrong, you were AMBA, Australian Modern Hair, Australian Modern Barber of the Year award last year, weren't you? And like, bro, that's hectic, bro. Like, what for you leading up to that point, you know, how many times had you given it a crack and sort of it not come to fruition, and what was that thought process of like, no, I'm going to keep on this grind until I achieve that?
Well, I mean, the awards aren't that old, really. So I finalised for that awards one time before. But I'd never really put much effort in or entered into these sort of things prior to that. But I'd done editorial work had already been kind of like part of what I like to do. So I've been quite fortunate to be a session stylist for many brands over the years. So, you know, working with like ASOS, GQ and a few other brands along the way. And so when it was like, I started seeing, it was more that when I started like looking into the hairdressing world and they really like approach kind of creativity a little bit different to us. Like I think for us, it's like, I made that guy look sick. Where I remember back in the day when like Scorum were like the pinnacle, and not to say they're not still the pinnacle, but they were like, you know, they were the 2 dudes in men's hair. And they would often talk about that hairdressers are like creatives and barbers are like tradespeople. Like we're the you know, we're the technicians, I suppose. And I kind of like, I always thought, hell yeah, that's so cool. Like, you know, that we're like refining our crafts, we are craftsmen, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, the more I like started to get into it, I started seeing like these hairdressers doing these really incredible things. And that space is just so much bigger and wider and open comparatively to where our industry is currently. Not to say we're not getting there, we're definitely pushing forward 100%. For that. So I guess I like the editorial side of things anyway, and it makes you have a different perspective on hair and and stuff.
Going back to that, like were they your main inspiration? You know, the Scoring Boys. Anyone else that kind of stood out to you?
The Scoring Boys? Oh, for sure. They were like, you know, they were the pinnacle. But there's heaps. But that's actually where me and Mark first met. We met at a
real?
Yeah, at a school. When those boys came over to Australia for the first time.
Yeah, wow.
But I mean, who else? There's too many. I mean, we're in the world of like Instagram and TikTok where there's
where it's just every single post is
I'm like all of their biggest fans.
That's awesome. I find it cool how you were even saying too, like obviously there was a lot of the times when you started in the barbering industry back in the day, obviously it was hair, you know, it was a hairdressing course that you did, and you only had the modules that you did were shorter length hairstyles and stuff. But I feel as though you have your old school styled men's hairdressing, and then you have this newer style like the OP style and stuff like that coming around. And how have you guys kind of like evolved? Have you tried to evolve your style? Because I know that both of you have such a unique and incredible style that is, I view it as very like sort of old school niche. And then you have your OPs and your Lamonicas, your men's spies and all that coming through now that are very much more modernized. How have you found that these new styles coming in and the way that you cut men's hair these days with hairdressing techniques? How is that sort of, is that impacting, you know, the style that you guys are approaching?
It's kind of come full circle. Like Mark will probably attest to this more than me, but because I got in, when I first started cutting hair, it was just like maybe just on the cusp, if not just before the kind of big barber resurgence, when it was just like everybody wanted really classic 50s cuts. So there was still that kind of like, we're still kind of in the men's hairdressing phase. And then we've come all the way through, and now I see Josh LaMonica and Josh OP and Charlie Gray and all these cats. And they're just doing like men's hairdressing. Right? So yeah, I would still say I kind of feel like that's more my space. So when I see what they do, I go, yep, cool, I get it. And I find it really incredible. But I guess my personal style, personal flair is still like kind of based in subcultures. And so like that's more where my like heart and soul is. So when I'm doing a haircut, like maybe to a lot of barbers out there, if I like post a photo of a trim, it doesn't look like the guy, I just cut the guy's hair. It looks like I cut it 3 weeks ago. Because I like that kind of like shaggy lived in. So that's just my personal preference. But I'm really comfortable with where the kind of men's hair is going now. Cut color, combs are back. I'm a big fan.
What about yourself, Mark?
Yeah, I think what Matt said there, subcultures is a really, you know, important thing that shapes me. I love razor haircuts. I like longer haircuts, sort of thing. But one of the joys of our job is we get to do a different job every half an hour or every 45 minutes. I did a bit of shop fitting, I did a bit of tiling, and I soon worked out, this is 6 weeks in the same shop. The last two weeks you're going back fixing up stuff that you don't like. You know? So we're very fortunate about that, and you know, as I say, I love the variety. I have my strengths and my weaknesses. You know, I look at you guys fading and wow, you know, some of those I'm like, man, that hasn't even got filter on.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy to hear from you, man. Straight
but
up.
You know, that, as you say, you know, I just think that the variety and when you understand hair, you know, you can look at a picture and you go, right, I know what techniques I need to do. You know, whether I need lift, whether I need to flatten it out, some targets. You know, when you understand the hair, you feel confident that I can pretty much do sort of most of the haircuts that I want. And as I say, variety is lovely, and I will have a crack at anything. Absolutely. You know, I relish stuff that's a bit different, sort of thing.
And that's awesome too, because like, especially hearing from you guys, like the love. Obviously, I would never say, because I always believe that we're all apprentices, we're always apprentices to the game, and there's always so much to learn.
Learning, man,
and I just feel like you guys, I feel like master's the wrong word, but you guys have become such leaders and masters in your own styles and techniques that you have the humility to look at people who are running a different style, like an urban style or a modern style, and just show that respect and that love for that style. Like hearing you say to Jayden and me, like, bro, like, when you do the fades, they're blurry, they don't even that's crazy for like me to hear, because I look up to you and your styles and you all guys' technique, because I know that personally. That's not my style. Like I can't, you know, do a full fucking shag, lived-in mullet style and make it look fucking sexy like you guys can. But like, you know,
if someone asks me to do a pattern, I've got like 2 in my locker, and that is it. And I see you guys come out and do a full portrait of Tupac or something like that, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, right, just a couple of slices, all right for you, my man. You know,
I've got a mean Adidas in my locker, and that's about it. You want those 3 straps?
Spider leaf, don't ask for the leaf.
No spider webs. No.
And I think that's even just like a little perfect segue too, because obviously Brisbane at the time, it's gone through so many different styles, culturally, urban styles and all that. And obviously wherever you go in Brizzy, and what Jayden and I both love about the Brisbane barbering scene is that you go to the west side has a set style of cutting, north side, same thing, you know, and then, you know, come in a city and, you know, suburban, it's so different because it's just a cultural mixing pot of different styles, and you might have an urban style barber cutting a traditional style haircut, and it's like, bro, what the heck? And they have like, it's a traditional style haircut, but has that urban spin on it. Like you look at Jono, even Jono's style is he likes to say he's a traditional barber, but I feel like he's like that urban traditional mix.
Urban traditional,
and especially with like, I guess with you, Mark, being in the industry for as long as you've been in, and especially in the Brisbane scene, the cultural shifts, like how has that been for you, and how's that sort of made you feel just as someone in the industry and who's been in the industry for so long, seeing how it's moving and changing all the time? Is it sort of unsettling, or does it make you proud to be a part of something that's just evolving and it's its own ecosystem, as what Joshua P was saying today, and it just builds and builds and builds and grows up?
Oh, proud. I mean, you know, I wouldn't. As I say, you know, it's that often, you know, recited. I want everyone to be successful, right? You know, it's there's so many men out there. You know, I don't understand this competition and stuff like that. I get it if someone opens up next door or over the road from you and stuff like that. But ultimately, you know, if someone's choosing to go to that stuff, that's probably because that barber, they like what they do. Like Josh said, you know, it's more than just a haircut. It's a whole service, and I only can control what happens in my shop. I can't control everything
else.
But you know, as I say, we all bounce off of each other, and if anything, you know, if you see a shop that's busting out lots of work, you go, man, I'm going to lift my game, man.
100%.
You know, and you know, why not reach out to those?
Yeah,
to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Like you say, it always evolves, and you know, we can all do the same. All four of us could sit there and watch the same tutorial, do it on a mannequin head, and our interpretations of length or texture, it will all be different, right? No one is exactly the same in this industry. 100%. And that's kind of beautiful, right?
I think that's one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to with tomorrow, with doing this this OP Train the Trainer, how we're hands-on tomorrow, and it's all of us 4B, all of us 4B educators in one room, and all of our styles are going to come out when we start running the DFS, and I'm excited for that, because I'm excited to see how everybody approaches the formula, and I'm excited, bro. I don't know about you,
but yeah, 100%. I'm really excited. But one thing I just wanted to touch on, bro, especially what we just talked about, bro. It's one thing that I love, bro, especially when we introed you, man. When you were you know, talking about yourself, you said, I love my industry. That was a cool one. You know what I mean? That really stuck with me. You know, and that kind of answers your question, man. Like, you know, is it unsettling? Bro, you saying that, man, it just reassures that, like, you know, you love the industry, man.
And it's straight up like what Frey says too, is that, you know, he's doesn't love barbering, he doesn't love hairdressing, he loves hair. He just loves hair, straight up. And I think that when you become that open, you open yourself up to a whole new world, because I feel like, especially a lot of young barbers, they're like, nah, barbering, haircuts. But if they, you know, take themselves out of being that small-minded, they realize that there's a whole big wide world out there of you know, the hair industry, and it has so much to offer. And I know that where I started, I don't know with you at TG's, bro, but where I started with barbering, when I left that barbershop and I realized how big the fucking industry was, I was like,
100%,
where the fuck has this been my whole life? Like, you know, when I first was education, I'm like, what the fuck is education? Like, you know, and then now I'm, you know, doing everything that we're doing, and being on a team with you guys is something that I never in my wildest dreams would have ever fucking thought that I would be, you know, even here with NAU and talking to you guys. It's just, it's fucking so, it's such a blessing. And I always like to think back, you know, humility wise, because I'd never want to be ungrateful person. But with you guys, is there often times in your career where where you are now, you kind of look back and reflect and think, fuck, man, like, I'm actually doing all right. Like I've actually come. That young fella back in the day would be proud, or you don't really do reflection stuff.
I think we're our biggest critics.
Mark
always says it as well, but like I very much adopted it. He's always says he's never done a perfect haircut. But I've now like taken it further and just I tell people that, like, if I ever tell you I've done a perfect haircut, tell me it's time to quit.
I've seen plenty of perfect haircuts, but they've never come from me. You know, in my eyes, there's always something I could have done better.
And I love that. I love that about you guys, because I think that's one thing that we learned very early on in education, is when we finish a class or a workshop, or when we finish doing whatever we're doing in education, the first thing that we ask is, what can I do better? Not how good was I? How good was I? You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing I love about our culture that we're building within the 4B team, is that that humility aspect, where it's just like, nah, what can we do better? What can we do better to grow and build and uplift? And I feel as though, like, we have even just in the room today, there were so many different backgrounds and cultures and you know, styles, and seeing it makes me proud. Like I can't imagine for, you know, you guys and even yourself, Mark, with being 20 years in the industry, seeing
And the rest.
Yeah.
I've seen mullets come around 3 times now.
Here we go. Yeah. But like, yeah, it's just, I think that, you know, even with Matt, yourself too, like seeing all these different, if we were to go back like 15 years ago, all these different styles and all these different backgrounds wouldn't be in a fucking room together, you know, given the time of day, because everyone back in the day was like, nah, fuck this guy who, like exactly what you said, fuck this guy who's opening up down the street, old fucking Peter James who's fucking opening up fucking, you know, this barbershop, he's in competition. But now there's so much love, there's so much fucking love, and that's all I felt and Jayden felt when we first came into the team, because 100%. We were worried, because you guys are fucking heavy hitters, man. I don't think you guys quite realize how fucking much you mean to a lot of aspiring educators and barbers who are hitting the scene, because you guys have done it all in my eyes personally. And I know that, you know, like I said before, we can't say that anyone's perfect, but you guys are fucking rock stars, literally, and you have the fucking rock star styles. Literally, like you guys are fucking rock stars.
Well, you got pen all over my pen, like exactly rock star. I can't hold a pen properly. But no, I appreciate, and as I say, you know, when you talk about sort of, you know, being the humility and stuff like that, it is so important, because ultimately, you know, in the industry, you know, back in the late 60s and the 70s. When they wouldn't do longer hair, and even through the 80s, when they wouldn't do highlights and they wouldn't do perms, that's when the industry died and everyone went back to hairdressing. So education is so important, because if we just think, I'm not going to do that, then, you know, eventually the industry will be imploded and we'll back to number twos at the side of the back and stuff like that. And
I love that you said that, because I don't know if it was Greenie that we're talking to, bro, but I was talking about this quote that I love to sort of go off, especially with conversations like this, where I always say that past must exist for present to create future. And it's all about education, right? So, you know, if I pull that from a cultural standpoint, because that's something that culturally in Indigenous community in the Torres Straits, Eddie Koiki Mabo, he said that. His quote is that past must exist for present to create future. And I think it's so true. Like what we're saying is that we're trying to save that culture that we have. We're trying to save it and build it, not destroy it. Because if we don't educate that and educate the knowledge and share the knowledge, then, you know, the path is going to stop being built and it's going to start going somewhere else. And I feel as though that, it's just I don't know. I'm still on a high. The fact that we're sitting here next to you guys, like it's so incredible that we hearing from you and both of you guys, like saying what you've been saying, but it's so important for us to not gatekeep knowledge, not hold what we have in, and to share that, and to share the love and the passion, and to continue driving the industry up. Because like you said, if no one does it and we don't do it right, then all the knowledge is lost, and you know, it's just a big cycle again, and it starts from the beginning, and then, you know, you never know where it's going to be. But what would you say about that, G?
100%, man. I just think that, like, you know, if you just changing that mindset and just having the, you know, the mindset of, you know, I'm gonna give back and uplift the community, bro. Because I feel like, you know, Australia's on the rise, man. Like, you know, Australia's
very much so.
100%. And I think that it's like, you know, it starts with like us, you know, sharing and educating and uplifting and just making sure that, you know, we're not you know, gatekeeping and holding it in. It's you know, we're directing it into uplifting just us as a whole, as barbers, you know, in general.
And even going sort of back to what we were talking about before, do you guys ever think about the legacy or the impact that you're having on the industry, or do you just doing your thing?
Like, it's really nice that you guys saying all this, but there's no legacy in my head. No, other than Mark, like, big legacy, but for myself, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Bro, but that's that humility, bro. Like, straight up, like I remember watching you, and I don't know if you had just become a crew all-star or something like that, because you won something, didn't you? You won a crew thing or something.
I think the one you were talking about, were we all in the middle? Yeah. That was my big crew break.
Yeah, it was like your first.
Yeah, it was my first time.
And Jayden and I were both there, bro. And
And he bust out that beautiful afro.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you, bro, is that I feel like so many people see you and they're like, and I don't mean any fucking discrimination
I'm
about
the
this.
whitest guy in the world.
Look at this white motherfucker pulling up a fucking meanest flat top, bro. Like, gee, like I remember seeing you at Expo this year and the haircut that you pulled out, that afro style. I was just like, I was loading shit, bro, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is gangster, bro. Like,
100%.
It's just insane that, you know, yeah, bro, with your style and what you do and what people are used to seeing you do, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I do afros as well. Like, it's like, no biggie. I can just fucking pump out one of the hardest hairstyles to cut, bro. Like, it's such a cool thing. Like, where did that even come from, bro? Is that
that's from the UK?
The
right?
UK, yeah.
I mean, you know, realistically, in Australia at the moment, we don't have like a huge black community.
Yeah.
So you don't get like a ridiculous amount of afro hair walking in the shop. Or if you do, they're going to afro specific shops.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm fighting an uphill battle because, you know, I'm like the
climbing Mount Everest day.
Like, as soon as a guy walks in the shop and they're like, oh, does anyone do afro hair? And I put my hand up, they're like, nah.
Anyone except
you get so excited about it. Like, people coming in, you're like,
Yeah, he's got the Dead Punt Society t-shirt on and all that. So, sorry, this is your afro.
The guy with the mohawk, he's gonna do yours.
And even off going off that, man, like obviously between you guys, obviously doing so much education in a year, we all know what it's like. Like you pull up at Adelaide or Perth and you don't have any idea or have a clue of who you're cutting, what the model looks like and stuff like that. Especially within Brizzy, do you find it hard sort of having your clientele and then separating clienteles from models? Like where do you go about like outsourcing models and stuff for hair, or are they usually your clients? Because for me personally, right now, I'm like creating a list of clients that I genuinely love their hair, and I'm like, hey,
it's harder than you think, though, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna move you over here, and don't cut your fucking hair until I need you for a modeling gig. But yeah, has it been hard for you guys over the years trying to build that up, or?
Look, I do what you do. You know, if I get a client come in, I'm always going to put a note on his hair. And some of the best, you know, clients that actually take great photos, you wouldn't think so. And it's a case of taking just a candid photo and seeing what they look like. You know, I remember I did this guy. It's still on my walls, and he's on some other post, Paul, and I think he's my age, but he's silver haired, and and he gets his really cool mod cut, and he actually photos really well, sort of thing. And you wouldn't think it looking at him, like, putting a note on him, taking a photograph, and it's like, letting them know, look, because he doesn't want to say, hey, I might have this show for you, you want to come up, get adoration, and all that.
It can be quite awkward though, eh? Like you're like, you don't want to do the whole, so I'm kind of like a somebody in the industry.
And I think you're really handsome.
And I think you're really handsome. And
can I have your Instagram?
Yeah, can I have your Insta? Or because I remember I did it one time. I'm like, bro, fuck, you got really nice fucking hair. And he's like, oh, thanks, bro. and I was like, bro, can I grab like your number or like your Insta so I can utilize your hair one time? And he's like, my phone's dead, brother. Sorry. And I was like, like even with you, Matt, obviously with like some of the styles you pump out and with editorial stuff as well, like, is it hard to find models? Because I see that you utilize a lot of you have like a core group of boys that you use.
I have curated my kind of like models.
Nice.
Yeah.
But they're all signed models. So I actually like that's how I got. Yeah. So
sorry.
I was just gonna say, I just genuinely reached out to modeling agencies, to people that are unsigned.
Okay,
I've they're actual models, the ones that I curate. Okay. And then sometimes they've got good hair, sometimes they don't, and maybe they only last for one shoot, or maybe they only last for one stage show. And I'm like, never worked that one.
And I think when you ask them, they're not going to be as like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Bro, I'm so happy that we got onto this topic, because I know for me, like, I feel like there's a lot of different pathways you can take for barbering, right?
Straight
like,
up,
you got the option of going to bloody open a shop, or going to cut famous people, be famous. Yeah. I've always loved the thought of doing like haircuts for, say, movies, or haircuts for, like, as you said, like ASOS. Like, I know I've been interesting to us, and I know probably the the audience would love to know, like, what are some ways to get into that what is it that that pathway.
Session
that
style?
pathway.
Yeah.
I guess it's a change of like framework of thinking, like because we are so used to being barbering, especially like all four of us right now. We're all educators, right? So who is our client? Our client is is educating other barbers.
Yeah.
And so if you wanna kind of venture into that, you have to not forget our industry because you still be part of it, but you got to start looking in other industries, right? So you got to start, you reach out to brands that have nothing to do with our industry, or you reach out to brands that have everything to do with our industry and you do their hair for their campaigns and stuff like that.
Wow.
So I guess it's just about marketing yourself and the direction you want to take. But there's creative talent agencies out there. So like, the same way a model has an agent, a hairdresser can have an agent. Or a makeup artist has an agent, those sort of things. So
Wow.
And even off going off that, like, what's some of the coolest things that you guys have done, like in terms of that?
Pretty cool,
obviously that's incredible, but like obviously within that realm, because I feel like I don't know, like similar to Jayden, I've always wanted to get into, and I know I've messaged you guys, I've messaged you heaps of times, but I wanted to have a fucking chat about all these editorial shit because it's just such a foreign world for me.
And it's not really like I feel like it's not really a path that people like to
especially
in barbering,
and
you know what I mean?
Because obviously you guys are just fucking experts at it now. I wouldn't say experts, you're just still learning like I said before, but I mean, when you fucking win a couple awards, like fucking just a couple.
Well, when you're in a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I know. When you're a fucking Hall of Famer,
when they don't let you enter the awards.
I know. Because and I'm so glad you said that because I was going to bring that up too, and I was going to say like when I seen that I was like, hey, I fucking know that guy.
Even at the expo down in Newcastle.
Oh yeah. Because all right, so Jayden and I. We when we went to the War Barber Expo in Newcastle and we were on stage and we were like competing, we were so nervous, not about anyone else on stage except for Mark.
And Lino.
Mark and Lino, and we were just like, holy shit. It's the boys. It's Mark and Lino.
I remember I was in that finals. I was in the finals for it.
Yeah.
And bro, I picked up my cutthroat. It was so funny. I didn't even get close to the head, and I seen my hand shaking. I was like, nah, I'm putting it down.
Well, I hope I spoke to you because I always like when I'm doing that. I always like to make people because it's horrible.
Yeah,
because even on stage, I think it was just like, oh, hey.
Yeah, because we were even when we got there, we were like, oh my god, like.
We're gonna be judged.
Yeah, we're gonna be judged by like some fucking OGs. Like we're gonna be judged like heavy right now because we're just rubbish now. But I think that what's some advice that you would give to any young barber out there, who's possibly willing or wanting to get into that scene of the editorial side of things? What's some advice that you could give to them? Is it sort of just start and just have a crack, or like what's some advice that you would throw out to them?
Get yourself out there, as you say. Get in there, have a crack, take photos, have a look. As I say, particularly with editorial, right? It's not supposed. Most times, unfortunately, hair and makeup are on the bottom of the pile, right? It's generally about the clothes and stuff like that. So they want that hair looking like it's blown in the wind or something like that. It's not going to be super tailored for the most part. It depends on what that show is. But get yourself out there, take some photographs, have a portfolio to present to people. Get some we all invest in education or we spend a lot of time on social media marketing courses, whatever that may be. Get a photographer for the day, hire a studio, hire a studio and take get a dozen models.
And I've been hearing just reaching out to people.
I've done that a few times. Assisted, you just hit someone up, say, hey, you want a second pair of hands?
Yeah.
Quite often that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Especially like in the hair world, if you're session styling, like for hairdressing stuff.
Yeah.
The amount of ponytails that I'm just holding.
Wow.
While they're doing stuff that I have no idea what's happening.
Is that a thing? Like, do you feel like it's really important to know all aspects, like if I was just a barber, and not knowing hairdressing, is that important?
I guess because we're coming from a point of view where that world has never been opened up to us, and we're genuinely like we don't know what the fuck to do. Like
literally,
like it's one of those things where like what. Well,
you're not just a barber. You boys are.
Oh,
the podcast vibe. The big dog.
Yeah, because like I know for me, even going off what Jay was saying, that like the theming of a shoot, like what is it? Something where you just sleep and you wake up and you're like, holy fuck, I want to do like a fucking, I don't know, Pirates of the Caribbean theme shoot, and let's do some crazy fucking, you know, styles like that. Like even your theme last year, bro, was fucking gangster, because it's crazy when I look at the shoot and I look at the theme, I don't even need to guess who the fucking person is, because I knew it was you, bro, because that's your style, bro. And we talk about it heaps, AG, about style, and how when you look at certain barbers, you just know their style.
100%.
And we at the moment are on the cusp of, we don't really know our style. We're still trying to find our way.
We do. I can still point the...
No ways.
You put a lineup of haircuts and I know which ones are both of yours.
Yeah, no ways,
For
bro.
sure.
What the heck? That's crazy,
man.
man. That's a
Talking about
fucking
that
spin
even
out,
to this
bro.
day.
You both have very distinct, like, different styles from each other.
Really,
If you
bro?
think you're the same, they're definitely not.
What the heck, bro? That's
for
crazy,
sure.
bro. But like, yeah, going back to that theming process, bro, like what was that like for you, even like last year going through that process?
Like, I think Mark mentioned it before,
Yeah.
about just like, it just has to be authentically yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just whatever, you know, you like to do. And,
Yeah.
and Josh OP's been talking about it, you know, all day. Like,
Yeah.
just ultimately it comes down to, what do you think is cool? What
Yeah.
do you think? Like, don't worry about what other people are going to like say. Like, he was
Yeah.
talking about posting, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, why are you worried about the people that don't like it?
Don't like
Just
it, yeah.
If you like it, then someone else out there might like it
Yeah.
as well. So I guess it's just be authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Just do what you think's cool, man.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just hear something. I can't even remember. I can't remember what it was, but there was watching a Seinfeld episode, like, you know, literally, and they said, I can't. It's in my notes. I wrote it down.
Oh, actually, you know what?
And it
It's
was
so
like a corner or something. Like
I'm
that.
so
and
glad
like,
you brought that up, because my phone's over there. I screenshotted that quote that you put on your story the other day. Hey, is it the same quote?
Which one was it?
It's that they're like sitting at a table or something, and
Oh yeah. No, it wasn't that one.
No, it wasn't
but-
that one. Okay.
I do watch other shows as well for everyone that's out there, sort of thing, like, you know. But yeah, any collection that you see of mine is come from fine. But no, it hasn't. But as you say, you know, you do. You know, it's albums and stuff. It's a case of, you know, having a mood board, putting everything together, again, having some cohesion for a collection, isn't it? Sort of thing, you know. But you were saying before how, you know, we're just barbers and as hairdressers. I want to say, you know, I was fortunate through Lino to work on. I've done a couple of movies, and we did the Elvis one, like, you know.
Heard that.
Yeah.
When I heard that, man,
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was crazy.
But they specifically wanted barbers because, you know, there was a lot of afros, there was a lot, you know, from that scene, and there was a lot of,
It was
you
so
know,
crazy.
males
Because,
and the extra.
sorry, cutting you off hard. But like, because I watched that, and then afterwards I found that out. Because I know when I was watching the movie, I was looking at the hair and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Those styles are so amazing. And then I went back to the shop and John was like, oh yeah, that was, you know, Mark.
And
whoa. I was like, what?
hence
And
our
we know-
reaction at the Wall Expo in Newcastle, when we were like, hey, that's the boys that done the Elvis.
We only did the extras. I didn't do that.
Well, Lino's in the movie.
Yeah, Lino.
Is he actually?
He's the guy that shaves Elvis's head.
It's
Are you
funny.
serious?
Yeah.
What the heck?
You'd never recognize
You
him.
can
Okay,
tell
wait,
by his
yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
I
I
know
didn't
that scene.
recognise him.
No.
I know. Yeah, well, I've got that scene, a photo on my wall in one of my shops where Elvis joins the army, and he gets it shaved off. And sure enough, Lino is the actual barber in the movie.
That is
shaves
incredible.
it
That's
off.
crazy.
And he's got silver hair, and they made him look 8 years old.
So
They put 5 years on it.
Lino has hair in this.
Yes,
You would never
silver
recognise
hair.
him.
You wouldn't. Just his hands, that's what I recognise.
No way, that's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, because I know that's something that you, even touching on what you were saying before, right? Like, I know that the highest person I've ever cut is someone called James Charles. I don't know if you guys know.
I saw that you cut James
Charles is, but
Yeah.
That was buzzy.
yeah, that was something that was like a bit of a what the fuck, how does he even know who I am? And he just like reached out, but I only just missed out, and Jayden was there for both of these things. That I actually had 50 Cent.
No way.
Yeah, bro, I actually had
Jeremiah.
50. Oh, sorry, Jeremiah. When 50 Cent was here, Jeremiah needed a haircut. He was obviously the opening act, and they one of the boys who knows the boy, you know how it is as barber, and we create so many connections, and he messaged me, and I went on lunch, and I didn't actually see the message, and it had been an hour and a half, and I looked at my phone and I clicked on it, and it's like, hey bro, do you want to come to the W and get a haircut and cut Jeremiah and possibly the team that's here, you know, all this, and all I thought was, I was like, looked at him like,
Bro, we want to break together too, and that's when you opened it, bro.
and I was like, Jeremiah, I was like, bro, Jeremiah's not here in Australia. And he's like, yeah. And Jayden goes, yeah, bro, he's with 50. And I was like,
yeah, that was funny, bro. That was funny because I remember you saying, bro, you were like, oh yeah, someone just told me to cut Jeremiah, and I was like, because I knew he was here, and I was like, I was like, that's actual Jeremiah? And you're like, nah, it's not him. And I was like, bro, it is, G. He's here. And you're like, fuck, bro. And you just realized, G. And in that moment, we're just like, fuck.
Yeah, and it's like, it was crazy. Obviously, I don't know if you know who Jeremiah is.
I'm going to pretend I do.
Oh yeah, that's Jeremiah guy.
But he's what would you say? He's a bit of an R&B style artist,
R&B,
But
R&B.
it was definitely something that it's just random. Like those opportunities, they just kind of happen, hey, and they just pop up. And one of the biggest themes that we've had this past week shooting the first season is just having a leap of faith. You know, Josh talks about it, and he spoke about it in his course over the past 3 days, was that living off fear, building that fear and utilizing that fear to create growth and drive yourself into growth and opportunity, because it's just a leap of faith. You know, whatever you got to do, you got to do. You know, and
comfort. You know, breeds complacency, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you know, you have to put yourself out there, and you know, as you say, trust yourself, back yourself.
100%.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's really spoke volumes to me and I haven't spoken about this with any other guest, so you guys are the first one that I'm actually saying this to, but especially this year during Expo and running and emceeing the main stage,
which you smashed, by the way.
I appreciate that, bro.
People still talk about it.
No, so I appreciate that. I at that point I didn't. Like, I don't view myself as like an educator. I still view myself as this kid from Ipswich that just cuts hair. But you know, after that weekend, I remember the expo finished, and I remember sitting on the stage and just watching all the vendors start to pack up, and I was just sitting there and I just couldn't believe, like, I don't know, I just hit a moment where, because we spoke about like flow states as well, where that fear that hit me, it takes over and it goes into a flow state, and that's when I become the best version, that money cuts, that's when that comes out. And I didn't realize how good of a job I did, or didn't know if I even did any good, until everybody came up to me and was shaking my hand in that. And in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how do you even know me? But I was in my mind, I completely blanked out the last 2 days that I'd been on stage.
You forgot about all of that.
And I guess what I'm getting at is, like, do you guys have that moment? And I've asked a lot of educators this that have come onto the potty this past couple of days, but do you ever enter a flow state, like whether it be education or when you guys are doing an editorial or shooting, and it's just like that flow state of like, yo, and it's just working and everything's combining together, and then all of a sudden you finish and you sit there and you go, hey, what the fuck did I just do? Like, did I really just do that? And I just want to know, like, do you guys experience that as well, or is it,
I think so. I mean, you know, I think if you're not nervous before, you know, excited, and you channel that in, I don't think you're normal sort of thing, right? You know, and obviously as time goes on, you know what's going to happen, you know what to deal with. And as you say, you get in the flow, get that first 20 seconds, you know, stumble a few words and stuff like that. And then you get into it. And as I say, you know, it's, I think most of us barbers, we can chat, right? You know?
100%.
And, you know, ultimately, you know, if you know what you're talking about,
you
know, which is hair is one thing that we do know and talk about sort of thing, right? You know, I find it a lot easier in that, but absolutely, you get in a flow, you get in a groove, and, you know, you don't want it to end, let's face it. I mean, how many times you sit there and they go, and you got 15 minutes, you're like,
and you think,
I want a minute, 10 minutes, no, 45,
100%.
phrases like that.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, you know, absolutely. And you know, as you say, it's a good state, it's a great state to be in, sort of thing.
It's addicting, it's extremely
100%.
addicting,
Yeah, I find, I was talking to someone not that long ago, and they asked me, like, how I go with public speaking, and I was like, oh, I'm terrible at public speaking. I hate it. Hate it more than anything. They're like, don't you do stage shows?
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, oh, but that's not public speaking. That's just talking about what I know.
Bro.
And like, you just get up there and you're just like, oh, this is just another like,
bro,
like
exactly
cool.
straight that. And exactly. I'm so glad you said that, bro, because at Expo, I was fucking shitting bricks, bro, straight up. I was shitting bricks, and I was like, you know, the added bonus was that I had my earpiece in, and the whole 2 days, all I heard was Fraser just in my ear screaming at me. So even when I was on stage, I may have like looked calm and collected, but while I'm talking, Fraser's in my ear screaming at me, and I was just so, it was just so incredible. But I feel like like everything, pressure builds diamonds, and I feel like, you know, that fear aspect of everything, that leap of faith. Like, I remember Fraser calling me and saying, "Bro, you want to do main stage?" And I said to him, "Fuck no." I was like, "Bro, are you kidding me? I'm getting on stage in front of my peers or people that don't even realize or know who the fuck I am, and like, you know, I'm gonna be a nobody, bro. I'm a nobody on stage. Like, you're asking a nobody to get on stage and do this extravagant show." And he just, the faith that he had in me was like, it reassured me, and it took that fear away. And I was like, he's like, "Bro, there's only 2 or 3 people that I could trust and feel like they could get on stage and do it. And if I didn't think you can do it, I wouldn't have even asked you." And I was like, you know what, let's fucking do it. But I feel like I've had a lot to learn from that, because I have fear of entering the AMBAs and, you know, doing all these shows, because I worry about not being the type of barber that people may want to be represented, you know, who I am and what I am. And that's just me being you know, having a bit of self-doubt. But because obviously seeing you guys and you know, you guys have been industry leaders and industry standards for the past couple of years, it's been very, very daunting to want to get out of my comfort zone. But I know that now, especially after talking to OP this week, that I want to use that as a bit more of a driving force and trying to be, you know, step out of my comfort zone and try and elevate myself up a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, I don't think what a lot of people don't realize watching the podcast is that, you know, you look at us and you want to be educators, but at the end of the day, if, you know, what brands and everything love is that accolade, that accolade that you may have next to your name. It may be like an award or something like that. Because I know Fraser talks about it heaps, is, you know, put yourself out there, put yourself out in your comfort zone, because you might be an AMBA winner, and then all of a sudden a year and a half later you're educating for fucking an international brand. And it's, you know, I don't know if you guys can attest for that. Of course you can attest for that, because, you know, look at the brands that you guys represent. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I've gone off with that, bro. I had a flow state myself just then. I just came back to earth.
But, you know, I personally, and I can't speak for everyone, I learn from my mistakes. You know, I'm one of those, and believe me, I've made plenty in my life. And I've still got plenty to make. Don't worry about that as well. But that's how I learn. And as you say, and, you know, I'm always going to be very self-critical. I should have said this. I should have said that. We should have done that. Like, you know, and, you know, that's a good reason to get back out there and make sure you do it next time, and then you'll forget something out. So I think it's a great sort of thing. And I mean, how many people have you met, you know, Kalib, in the industry, or, you know, while you're doing this podcast, that have been arrogant and haven't wanted to give you anything?
None at all.
No one, right? Because everyone at this stage wants everyone to succeed, I feel.
And it's crazy you even go to say that, because especially obviously this first 3 days of the OP course was obviously open up to, you know, anybody who wanted to come and be a part of it. And a lot of people coming up and like V-lining it to like the educators that were here, and they're like, so you're on JRL? Oh, yo, here, look at my photos and my haircuts. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I don't really care about your haircuts, but like, who are you as a person? Tell me who you are. You know, who are you? What do you do? What do you enjoy doing? Do you have any other hobbies other than barbering? Because it's that genuine connection that you can create to people. And I've been preaching it all week too, that the fucking power we have in our voice. And with NAU, hence why we wanted to build NAU, is that it's one thing to read a story, it's another thing to listen to it, you know, and the power in what we have as educators, that we can captivate a whole room, a whole expo with our voice. And you know, when we were going through creating up NAU, we just thought, bro, realistically, like, obviously, you know, back in the day, everyone was reading magazines, everyone was doing that stuff, but we wanted to just try and build something, elevate something into this new age era of media, where it's like, we want to get people like yourself on who can share their story through, you know, conversation, and we can hear your voice, because we utilize that every day. You know, they talk about the brands and all this and the tools that we use, but our biggest tool is our voice. I think that, you know, the way we captivate and the way we personalize ourselves on stage is obviously through our voice. And, I don't know. Once again, I've lost myself in the fucking flow state.
But I was going to say, because I feel like that's something that I always want to drive home. As when you're talking about, you know, people come up to us and they want to like go, oh, hey, bro, you work for JRL. Like, let me see. It's like, this is my stuff. Like, I often talk about that people you're either an educator or you're not. And that's not me like saying, putting us on a pedestal or putting them down or anything. I'm trying to say that it's a different skill set, and I feel like where we're at in our industry at the moment is a lot of people see it as the next step. But I would really like to advocate for session styling. You can be the top of your field in various different components of our industry. You could own a shop, you could own a fleet of shops. You could be a session stylist and work on. You could do movies and you know, or you could be an educator if that's in your thing, or you could be the best social media person out there. Like these are not. There's none of these are like higher than the other. They're all just different avenues. But you can be the tippity top of any of those. It's just figure out what you want to do. So, you know, the best way, like Josh keeps talking about it, if you want to figure out if you want to be an educator, go out and teach. But you can take it upon yourself to go like, oh, okay, maybe teaching's not for me. That's not. It's not a down thing. It's just a different avenue.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you want like free tools out there, like, and that's your goal, and then you see all that sort of stuff, go out and do social media and be the best you can with that. Like, you know, we're quite fortunate in our kind of space that we all work in. We're all quite, like, you guys are very good educators. But it's because of the way you can figure out how someone learns, and I feel like that it's not about us.
That's so important.
I love that he just said that. I love that he said that.
Yeah.
Bro.
Oh,
bro. See what I mean? And even today, hey, when we were bouncing around the class, like, everybody said, as they had their say, was it's not about us. It's not about us. It's not about us. And me and this guy were just sitting there, just like kicking each other, like, we picked a good fucking name.
Keep plugging.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because the idea of it sparked from me and this guy finishing work one day, going to the roof and just being like, should we do something? Yeah. And then it was just like we were getting in our cars and Jayden was like, bro, just remember it's not about us, bro. Got in the car and then that's where it came from.
And the reason why I said that, bro, and I like to bring it back, bro, it's really, you know, it's not just, you know, what we're talking about, you know, being a theme, you know, education not being about us, but I even just thought of it as like, when we're cutting here, it's not about us as barbers. It's the client. It's about giving them that experience, and even just on that level, like it can connect to all sorts of barbering and all sorts of, you know what I mean. So and that's the whole reason why that stuck with me, especially when he was like, oh, let's do a podcast. I was like, yeah, bro, it's not about us. We'll make sure that, you know, everyone's having a platform to be able to speak and you know, educate and uplift the community. And
sorry, G. Just real quick, you might need to just press that and restart it one more time. Right. Pardon me.
Yeah, it's flat. It's been flat.
Is it flat?
It's been flat.
When?
Like 30 minutes.
True shit.
It's right. We've got the wide angle. But anyway.
That doesn't matter. Anyways, we're going to talk to this camera now. It's not, you guys can keep going there. Our camera just keeps failing on us.
Especially when we're outside, we've got to look at that one. But yeah. But that's kind of where that came from and how it kind of fits into all this as well. But
it's a really good point that you said about it's about the clients and stuff like that. Because I think, you know, people forget about that, right? You know, that without our clients and without, you know, putting the hours, thousands of hours on the clients that trust us in there is nothing like, there's no 100%. Springboard to go. I'm going to finish my college after 6 weeks and I'm just going to go up there, you know.
100%.
It is about the clients, let's face it, right?
100%. You know, and that's where it comes from. Hey, like being a barber is that you're the cornerstone of your community. You know, wherever you are, wherever you set up, whether it be in Logan, whether it be in Brisbane City, you know, wherever you set up, men need a space that they feel safe in to come to and trust us, and they trust us that much with their appearance that it allows them to open up, and it allows them to, and we just had a mad conversation with Simon Doyle, and his stories is fucking incredible. Everything that he's been through, all his trials and tribulations, but I just said to him, bro, straight up, you're a fucking barber, bro. Like, everyone's been through everything. Everybody's been through, you know, their own trials and tribulations. And I don't think I've ever met a barber that has a fucking boring story. Like, we have fucking some pretty crazy stories. And I just feel as though at the root of a barber is that we're people first, community first. You know, we uplift everybody, we uplift the community. We're counselors, you know, like we're people that help support other people. And I feel as though that bringing that vibe and that culture that was once there into even the educational scene, like what we're trying to do now with uplifting the educational scene here in Australia, I think that it's fucking exciting, man. It's so exciting. And I feel like it's really incredible and amazing to be able to have the opportunity to do it alongside, you know, people like yourselves and you know, other educators that Jayden and I have looked up to for so long. And you know, we've had heaps of moments where we've had dinner. I don't know if you know this, but in Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, I went home that night in the hotel, and I was thinking to myself, what the fuck? I just had dinner and Mark Rabone was just sitting right here next
I'll
to me.
do anything for a free meal. Phrases like that. He's got another freebie out of
He
us,
wasn't there for
something like
JRL either. He snuck onto that dinner.
Bro, it was so funny. But yeah, obviously, guys, once again, thank you guys so much for jumping on, giving your time. I know we've gone a little bit over, but that's just a part of the conversation. It's a part of the process. And before we sort of finish up, the last thing I want to ask you guys is obviously what's coming up for you guys, and are we looking forward to Expo for Barbers next year, and what are we looking forward to?
Oh, what are we looking for? Well, we're not allowed to mention the guests that are locked in or anything like that sort of thing. Like I personally, I mean, Man and I, we're relocating, so we've got a bigger shop coming up in our Milton store, which is amazing. It's going to be a big store. We're looking forward to that. Obviously, I'm looking forward to progressing with the DFS formula sort of thing. That's going to be really exciting. Awesome. And just 4 barbers, I think. We got a great collective, a great team. So I'm really excited about that next year, sort of thing. Yeah. It's awesome. Learning off you guys. Letting the old boy in the team and showing me some of your modern secrets, giving me some of that sprinkle
whatever you want,
whatever you need. But what about yourself, Matt? What about yourself?
I mean, the main focus for us is this new shop.
Yeah.
So that's
Milton. Did you say?
Yeah,
in Milton.
Yeah,
nice.
So we're relocating like only a block away, but oh god, it's going to be a lot of work for the next couple of months.
Yeah,
be getting in and out. Other than that, just doing a lot more stuff with 4B, with our education platform. That we're just gonna onto bigger and better things. Really.
You guys are coming Expo.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Expo was, it's what the industry's needed, right?
Yeah,
proper Expo. Not that, the previous Expos that we haven't been amazing, but, certainly this was up a notch and it felt more like, like the Hairdressers Expo and stuff like that. Absolutely. The brands, all the big brands were there, 100%. All the educators, international educators. Yeah. It certainly has... it's put us on the map, there, hasn't it? Right,
100%,
and they've all loved it when they've come. Over, right?
It's absolutely insane, and
that's crazy.
I think even before we wrap up, we obviously want to thank. This camera's rolling, eh?
Camera's not rolling.
So obviously before we finish wrapping up, we just want to give a huge shout out to the Barber Academy for allowing us to use their space to shoot this first season of the Not About Us podcast. Once again, thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and have a chat with us. And happy birthday, Esquire. That's fucking amazing. Thank you guys so much. But
thanks so much.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get you guys on soon. And I know that I don't know if we've been able to say it yet, but. Oh no! Fuck it. We'll just say it. Yeah. So we're gonna have a booth at Expo. So, So big things are coming. So we're gonna be doing a part 2 of a yarn very soon. But looking forward to it, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Let's go.